All right, welcome everybody. It's Wednesday morning. It's June 3rd. This is I don't even know what we call this webinar. What do we call it? Like support and resistance happy time or something like that? I don't know. Doesn't really matter. I'm Rob Booker. I'm alone. So for those of you that hate it when I'm with other people and joking around and not paying attention to the charts, you're going to be really, really, really happy today. We're going to go for about 30 minutes today. We're not going to go for a full 45 minutes or anything like that. We're going to look at as many currency pairs as we have time to get through. There's a ton of stuff going on, and I'm generally ultra bullish on the US dollar, and I have been for weeks, and I've been totally wrong for weeks now. I mean, like 3-4 weeks I've been wrong consecutively. And definitely ready to see some of this movement today. I couldn't agree with Ed more, but I've been saying that the dollar's going to go up for 50 million years now, and I've been wrong about it so far. So here we go. Don't be a stunt monkey webinar. Fine name, as you well know. That's absolutely right. So for those of you that like to get down to business and just do a webinar, all business, you're in the right place today because there's no sidekick today that's going to go crazy. Right, this is the Euro-Dollar 1-hour chart. As you all know, I am not a huge fan lately of the Euro-Dollar. I've actually hated it. But I'm not going to hate it anymore. Here we go. Last night, we broke through this level of support, this blue trend line that you see on my 15-minute chart. I'm going to load the 15-minute chart so you'll be able to see it. You should be able to see my Euro-Dollar 15-minute chart. Just let me know that you are able to see my 15-minute chart. Yeah, perfect. Excellent. I was just getting the chart ready, so it just takes me a minute. There we go. This is the Euro-Dollar 15-minute chart. It broke through this blue trend line at about, oh, goodness gracious, I don't know, 4:30 yesterday. And did move down immediately. It never really broke too far above the highs. And then just last night, starting at about 3 o'clock in the morning, Eastern U.S. time, it just started screaming lower. And on the 60-minute chart, you can see that we made it down to this baseline here on the 60-minute chart. Here's the issue now is, where do we go from here? I mean, can we go lower than this? I mean, can we see this currency pair go even further than this? Or are we done with this movement? Let's look at some longer term charts. Now we're on the 4-hour chart. Where can we go from here? I've been looking at this low of 35.24 for like a billion years. That's way down there, right? It's 600 points lower. Could we get there? Sure, we could get there. Are we going to get there today? No, we're not going to get there today. Here's another possible profit target. I'm going to color this green as well. And it will just be higher up than the other one. And this is at 37.89. That's a good interim profit target. I definitely think we could get down to either of those. Anybody have any questions about the Euro-Dollar? That's the target. We've now broken below the baseline that was the profit target on a shorter term trade. And that break of the baseline could be used as a setup for a brand new trade, as you know. Just going to wait to see if there's any questions that come in about this one before we move on. AB has a second longer trend line on the 4-hour chart. And I think I might try to draw that, AB. If everybody doesn't mind, I might try to check that out on the 4-hour. Let's see here. I don't know. AB, is this what you have maybe? Something like that? Something stretching across the lows there that maybe converges with that 3790 or 3800 ticket. It'd be interesting to see if that's what you've got. Okay, so that's the Euro-Dollar. Boy, the pound dollar is really moving. Uh-oh. I went off the web here. Yep, I'm back now. Internet's back. So my microphone's back on. I think you might have lost me for a minute there, but I'm back. Okay, here's pound dollar 15 minute. We're not going to start on the 15 minute. We're going to start on the daily. Let me know if you can see my, just taking a moment to load. It's taking a while to load. And, yep, all is okay, says Pete. So it sounds like even though my chart isn't loading, kind of going back and forth here, aren't I? I might get a more reliable internet connection here so we can continue. And you're able to hear me all right? Oh, it looks like you are able to hear me okay. Looks like my X-Tick charts are just bailing out on me here. That's all. And are you able to hear me all right? Oh, your X-Tick has crashed too. Okay, so that's what it was. Easy enough to switch over to a different charting platform, not a big deal. Go to Interbank FX Trader. Go to the MetaTrader. Yeah, there's no chart right now. My chart's crashed. My charting platform just wasn't happy. Yeah, I think this is reasonably easy to switch. Color scheme. And we'll go to charts, candlesticks. We'll zoom in a bit here. And we'll switch this to the pound dollar. And I'll be ready in just a moment to share my chart when I just pulling up my charts all over again. And I'm going to try to make them the same size. Oh, so now it's going to work, huh? There we go. This is the daily chart. X-Tick is back. Thank you, everybody, for letting me know. Here's the pound dollar daily chart. It's looking good, people. Daily charts moving up. Look at this. Gosh, look at that retracement that it's made. I'm not really huge into fib retracements, but check this out. Look at the currency pair jump upwards like that. It's almost to the 50% retracement on the daily chart. That 50% retracement comes at 68.36, and it certainly is possible that we'll see that number. Certainly is. It is pulling back now, and it looks kind of violent on the short-term charts. This pullback, this move downwards this morning. But is it really that big of a deal? And how far can we pull back? How far could we go down if we do go down? We know that 68.36 could be a reasonable target if the currency pair continues to go up. But what if the currency pair doesn't continue to go up? Where might we get to? Well, there's a few places I've been looking at all along. Number one on the list is right here. This is the 4-hour British pound US dollar chart. And I think we could get all the way down to this trend line right here. We're going to color it green because it's sort of a baseline. It's the profit target line if the currency pair does fall. There you have it, right there. So we are falling right now. And on the shorter term we go, the more violent this fall does appear to be. And could we get all the way down to that level? I mean, that's a long way down there, right? That's a huge long move right now. How would we time that move? How would we get in that kind of movement? All right. So we'd have to get down, in my opinion, to one of these other interim trend lines first. And here they are. This is the 60-minute chart now, and we've got a multitude of trend lines. We've got one that was broken this morning. It's a steep line. It's a red steep line. And we're on the way down to the blue entry line. Hopefully you can see this chart. It's the pound dollar 60-minute chart. And I would be willing to be short right now below the red steep line with an initial profit target of 1.62 even. We could move the stop loss to break even at that level, wait to see if it can close below our blue entry line, and then target the green baseline. Any questions about the pound dollar? All right, I'm going to move over to this is the Euro Canadian. I don't really trade this on support and resistance very often. I'm going to turn the camera off. I'm going to come back, and here's there we go. Should be looking at the US dollar, Canadian dollar 4-hour chart. And it looks like this currency pair is just now reaching up to a red steep line that we might have drawn last week, or I don't know when we drew this. I don't know how long ago we drew this, but this is definitely reaching up there and hitting it right now. Here's what I'd like to do. I'd like to go to a shorter term chart here. You can see how it's bouncing off this red steep line, or bouncing off the area of the red steep line. If we close above that red steep line, this is now the US dollar, Canadian dollar 1-hour chart. If we bounce off that level, then there's nothing that I'm going to do counter trend-wise. But if we break and close above that level, which would happen today or tomorrow, that's a buy trade for me, and we would target that longer-term entry line, the blue line that we drew on the 4-hour or the daily chart. Are there any questions about the dollar Canadian? I'll wait just a moment here and see what you guys say. Came up with, if anything. Can you see the trend line we drew in the dollar Canadian? Yeah, sure, absolutely. Here's the longer term one. This is the 4-hour chart, so I'm going to remove this, and I'm going to get rid of these lines right here. AB asks, can I see the trend line? And you absolutely can. There's the trend line from the 4-hour, and you can see I didn't draw it perfectly well. I'm going to move it just a little bit. There we go. So that's the trend line on the 4-hour chart. Look at it from a couple different angles right now. And you can see that it terminates now at about 1.1100 or so. It could terminate at around 1150, 1.1150 or 1.10, I mean not 1050, that would take forever. No, that's not good. Yeah, around 1.1200, somewhere in there right now. Those would be profit targets that would be worth looking at. So that's the dollar Canadian. Let's see what else we got. Pound Swiss. Everybody wants to look at the pound yen, so I think we'll do that. But I want to look at the pound Swiss first real quick. Okay, these are two trend lines from like 8,000 years ago. Okay, here's the pound Swiss. British pound Swiss franc. We're not going to look at this one just quite yet. We're going to switch to the British pound Japanese yen. Okay, we're going to go to the daily chart. And I'm going to write pound yen on it so you can see what we're looking at. There's the pound yen daily chart. Is this visible to you? Are you able to see that chart? I'm going to close out this TradeStation charts because I don't need it. So are you able to see? Yes. Okay, great. Here's the daily chart. As you can see, it's correcting back upwards. That's a super long-term counter trend trade up. What happens if it falls though? And it is falling today. How far could it go? What could we see happen here? There are a variety of trend lines to choose from, but that's my favorite one that we could fall down to right here. Now that's a long way off. Let's go to the 4-hour. Oh, I love this trade now. This currency pair has been a beast, but I'm really thinking that we're getting ready for a big, big move in the opposite direction. And there's a shorter term trend line on the 4-hour chart. This is a massive potential trade. An entry around 156, 155, a target 1,000 pips lower, and a stop loss about 500 pips higher up there. This is the 4-hour British pound Japanese yen chart. There you have it. Yes, that's the one. Oh, AB, who is an excellent judge of support and resistance, actually has the same exact lines that I just drew on my charts right here. I love this trade, folks. Of everything that we've looked at in a while, this is definitely my favorite one that I've seen so far for a while. This is a long-term trade. This is not going to close. This is something that would be open for a week or more, or 2 weeks even. And for some of you, that's a super long trade. That's a massively long-term trade. Any other questions about the pound yen? Okay, we've already looked at the euro dollar, pound yen, dollar Canadian, pound dollar. Let's look at the euro dollar. Look at all these lines on the euro dollar chart. I want to look at the euro dollar on a super short-term basis. I've got all these trend lines all over the place, so bear with me. No sound. Oh yeah, this sounds okay now, right? Yeah. Okay, euro dollar, this is the 5-minute chart. And on the 5-minute chart, I'm going to draw a trend line across these tops. Let's see what we have to say here. Can you make it a bit bigger, the chart? Absolutely, that would be fantastic. I'd love to be able to make the chart bigger. All right, that should work better. Hopefully that's good. All right, there you go. How's that look? Look all right, everybody can see that? That's the 5-minute euro dollar chart. Okay, no answer. That's fine. Didn't want to hear your comment anyway. Okay, this is a 5-minute euro dollar chart. Above this blue entry line here, above this blue entry line. Oh yeah, no problem. There you go. Euro dollar 5-minute. Now I did make it bigger, Maud, so if I need to make it smaller, just let me know. This is the euro dollar 5-minute chart. We're going to plan a super short-term set of trades here. Actually, we're going to plan a trade in either direction. Okay, perfect. Great to be seeing here. Have the charts visible. We're going to go to the 15-minute chart. Where could we go if we, on the 15-minute chart, if we bought it on the 5-minute chart on a break above that trend line, where could we get to? Two targets that I'm looking at. One is the recent high of 42.70. Second is the recent high of 43.34. Yeah, definitely those are the targets. Okay. What if, however, we fell? What would it look like then? This is, once again, the euro dollar. It's the 5-minute chart. What about down here, below 41.50? What about below that level? What about a sell on a momentum break? I mean, that's a support level break. And as you know, I'm a counter trend trader. And so you're asking, well, gosh, we just planned to buy a trade that was a counter trend trade in the 5-minute chart. Why are we planning a short trade if Rob's a counter trend trader? Isn't that with the daily trend? Well, it might be with the daily trend, but it's certainly against, the 5-minute trend, but it's certainly against the daily trend. If we sell this currency pair, we would certainly be going against the trend that we've had in recent weeks. I mean, look how far this thing has gone. It just keeps going up and up and up. And if we did fall on the 5-minute chart, and we did take a trend trade on the 5-minute chart, it does bring up the possibility of using a baseline from the 1-hour chart, this green level that you see right here. It does bring up the possibility of using that as a profit target. So sell at 41.50 or sell at 41.45 and a profit target 150 pips later at 4,000 even. At $1.04,000 even. That is a short-term trade that I could really sink my teeth into. Stop loss would go above 4,200, above those recent highs from just now, and the profit target all the way down once again, 150 pips lower at $1.4000. Questions or comments? Okay, I'm going to stop sharing the chart so I can read your questions. Boyke says, why do you like counter trend trading? I think we've been over this a bunch of times. It's just what I do better at, Boyke. It's just where I'm more successful. AB says, can I ask a general question? Are 5-minute 2 trendy trend lines reliable, or do you get a lot of false breakouts? They're definitely just as reliable. You get more setups, so they're not more likely to fail. They're just more likely to, it's more likely to have more trades. And when you have more trades, it does seem like more of them fail, in my opinion. All right, one currency pair that you know I can't stand is the US dollar Japanese yen. We're going to look at the US dollar Japanese yen anyway, and we're also going to look at the pound yen next. All right, you should be seeing my my dollar yen charts. This is the daily chart. And as you can see, the currency pair has started to consolidate in this zone right in here. I think that's fascinating. And I wonder if we can stay there for the whole year. I wonder if we can go one whole year and stay in that consolidation zone. That would be absolutely bizarre. Let's go to the 4-hour chart real quick. As you can see, the 4-hour chart seems to be consolidating just even short term, just right here. It's got its own box. It's the wrong tool. And what about a breakout of that consolidation area? Something we don't spend enough time looking at and considering are breakouts from these consolidation areas. We've called them tombstones. We've called them surprise boxes. We've called them squeeze boxes in the past. There's a lot of names that these things go by. But this is the 4-hour dollar-yen chart, and that's the range, up to 97, down to 94, and a breakout outside of that range could be interesting. Well, that's not specific enough yet. Let's talk a little bit about what levels I would look at in particular. This one, more than any other currency pair, really does look poised for a breakout, and I'm looking at two separate things right here. Number one, for a buy trade, I could initiate a buy trade on a close above this trend line, this blue trend line on the top, and I could initiate a sell trade on a close below this trend line on the bottom. Let's talk about profit targets for a minute. Let's start with the buy trade, since this currency pair has been sort of bouncing off top levels that we've drawn for quite some time. Where would we be looking for a profit target on this currency pair? What would be sort of acceptable levels? Well, there's one in particular that I've been looking at for quite a while, even though I hate this currency pair. Here's what I've kind of been looking at. Right there. That's a trend line, a baseline from the 4-hour chart that terminates at 98.30. That's number one. Number two, on a sell trade, I went to the daily chart and looked and didn't really find anything that I was impressed with. So I went back down to the 60-minute chart, and I thought the previous low of 94.46 would be a place to move a stop loss to break even. It would be a really quick move to break even, and maybe that's too quick. Maybe that's too close. But if you look here, there's all this consolidation right in this zone. I just don't really want to get in the way of that. So I might have a primary profit target to move my stop loss to break even at that level, and then a final profit target of 93.90 at the previous low. That's the dollar yen. Any questions come in? Nope, no questions still. I've got a few more minutes. I'm not going to be able to go too much longer than maybe to 10:30, 10:35, so another 5 to 7 minutes. Love to take a request or two or 5 or 6 if you let me know what currency pairs you'd like to look at. First, we're going to look at the pound yen, and then we can look at some other things. This is the 60-minute chart. Now we're going to move to the 4-hour chart. I'm going to unshare the camera. Maybe it would not be wrong to do that. That would be perfectly fine. This is the pound yen, and this is the 4-hour chart. If we fall, if we correct, where could we get to? Right here. I love this profit target. There you go. I think if it starts to fall, and it falls really hard, as you know, this currency pair goes down a ton faster than it goes up. We could certainly see this currency pair retest 148, 149, somewhere in that area. How do we get in on something like this? Close below this trend line on the 1-hour chart. This is the British pound Japanese yen. It's the 1-hour chart. A close below this entry line right here, this blue entry line, would create a sell trade that may get us down all the way to the green baseline. Now, what if it bounces off those levels and doesn't close below them? Well, fine with that too. If it bounces off them, you could certainly think about a buy trade. In particular, a bounce off the current blue entry line that you see on the chart in front of you right now. Okay, it's been a while since we looked at the Australian dollar. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. Oh, here's the 4-hour pound yen as well. So that pound yen 4-hour is a bit longer term. The first look at is a bit longer term than the one we just did. Okay, so we've looked at a longer term one and a shorter term one. Forgot that we kind of started off the whole thing there. Here's the US dollar, Japanese yen again. I'm going to turn off my chart sharing, and I'm going to switch it to the Australian dollar, US dollar. And this will be the last currency pair that we look at. It's the 30-minute chart. We don't want the 30-minute chart. We want the 4-hour chart. This is correcting as well. And where is this possibly correcting to? Right here. Let's go to the 60-minute chart and take a look at it there. So we could be correcting on the 60-minute chart all the way down to this level that terminates at about 7,900. On the 15-minute chart, we've got I think, is a reasonable re-entry on this. Not very steep trend line that terminates at about 8,100. So we could sort of plan to get in. I'm going to have to draw this red to distinguish between the two lines. The red lines I call steep line. A sell below that red line right there. Stop loss above 8,150. And profit target about 200 points lower at 7,900 even. I got a good question here from Deshay. Do trend lines work better on long-term charts than they do on short-term charts? Nope. Nope, they don't work better on one or the other. Nope, they just produce more opportunities on the short-term charts. You're going to get more trades. Doesn't mean they're going to be better, right? Just means you're going to get more of them. All right, it's 10:32. Any other requests for currency pairs you want to look at? I can have time to look at one more if you'd like to. Euro yen, euro yen. Since we already looked at the pound yen and the euro dollar, we're not going to look at the euro yen. Let's look at the US dollar Swiss yen. This is the 1-hour chart. All right. Let's take a look at any questions or comments that came in. Nothing, so we got time here to just focus on what's happening right now. There we go. The dollar Swiss on the 60-minute chart has broken above our trend line. And where could we be going? First of all, I think we might be going for this recent level of support or resistance, the resistance level at 1.0741. I think it's a place to move a stop loss to break even, take profit all the way, or whatever else. And then after that, I think we have stages. I think we have a level at 1.0824. I think we have another level at 1.0861. And then all the way up at 1.0953. And I just forgot to share the chart. Well, that's why I was talking about it for a minute. Thanks. There we go. So here's our trend line, 1-hour chart. We've already broken above it, so the trade's already fired off. It's falling back down, so there wouldn't be any reason to get in it right now. You could wait for a better price. If you didn't get in it already, I wouldn't jump into it right now. There's no reason to take a worse price and a larger stop loss. All right, so to review, we looked at the pound yen pretty extensively. Let's go back and look at that chart right now. Our favorite was a 4-hour trend line break of a blue trend line with a profit target down to a green entry line at 145.30 or 146. That was my favorite chart. We looked at the euro dollar a bunch, and we planned all kinds of different stuff. But we said that a short trade around now, with a first profit target of 37.89 and a second profit target of 35.24, could possibly be reasonable. We looked at the British pound in a shorter term support and resistance setup, which would sell below this trend line that you see right here on the 1 hour chart, and trade once again down to the 140s, but this time a little bit closer. We looked at the Australian dollar, and on the Australian dollar we said that it had a short-term red steep line on the 15-minute chart. A close below that could take us all the way down to the baseline. And we looked at the euro dollar, of course. Where did that one go? Oh, we looked at the pound dollar. Let's do that one. Below the red steep line already, kind of waiting for a retest of that steep line in order to initiate a first trade. Down to the blue entry line, and then down to the green baseline. And then last of all, we did look at short-term euro dollar trading. And I'm not exactly sure where that chart went. So let's see where that chart went. Well, where did it go? Well, we'll just switch it back. On this chart right here. And we'll get one last look at that short-term chart, that 5-minute chart that we looked at. We talked about a sell trade below 41.50, and we talked about a very short-term buy trade above this trend line right here on the 5-minute chart. All right, that's it for the support and resistance, or the Wednesday webinar with FX Street. I'm Rob Booker. Thanks for being here.